Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Tuesday, April 22nd. It's Alissa Coram here, and we saw a bullish market rebound in today's session, but can we get a follow-up on today's strength? We will have to see. We've got a couple of stocks to check in on. We'll also take a look at the early reaction to Tesla earnings. And joining me now to discuss all the market action today is my colleague, Ed Carson. Ed, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I want to take a look at Spotify, BellRing brands, and Tesla rival BYD.
Okay, we will take a look at those stocks. And like I mentioned, check in on Tesla itself. But first, let's take a look at those major indexes. Bullish gains across the board for the major indexes, with the NASDAQ up 2.7%. The S&P 500 was up 1.5% on, or sorry, 2.5% on the day, rather. We had the Dow up 2.7%, and the Russell 2000 also on pace for a strong gain headed into the close, up some 2.6%. So, Ed, the big question is, can the markets get their mojo back? Clearly, a step in the right direction, but we've seen big up days in recent weeks that haven't led to much ultimately.
Yeah, and like a Nasdaq in particular, it's been down 4 straight days, and so today we got back Monday's losses, but certainly not the losses from the last 4 days. So it was a bullish session. There was big price gains. There was higher volume than the prior day. A lot to like on it. But yes, I mean there's still we've had some ups and downs, and it's not clear that we've broken that pattern, and we're below the 21-day line. So I think investors should take note of this kind of day, and but at the same time, there's a lot of reasons to be cautious too. Certainly not an all clear signal that everything is going to be fine. Uh, there was not too much tariff news, and then Secretary Scott Bessent said that he in a private meeting that he was hopeful that there would be progress on U.S.-China trade, that the tariffs were unsustainable, but there wasn't really anything particularly
Concrete.
substantial in it too. But it
Mhm.
still, I think, cheered markets. But really nice to see today's action for sure.
Absolutely. But you mentioned hurdles do lie ahead. So we have that 21-day moving average. That's been a very key resistance level. Also, the high from that 12% up day. It would be great to get above that level as well. And you would imagine potentially by then, if this momentum to the upside can continue, clearing that high would also coincide with the low, or at least some of the trading action being above the 21-day line for a couple of consecutive days, which also I think would make us feel better about the short-term tactical market trend there. But it seems like today was a dip your toe in the water moment. Perhaps some stocks out there were buyable, but it seems like we also want to see not only more setups, but more setups and actionable stocks that are working and following up on their gains, besides gold related stocks and more defensive names that we've seen with powerful relative strength.
Yeah, and I think just to remember, just to caution, not only can we just see a bunch of tariff headlines, but we're getting into the middle of earnings season. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something else. We normally just talking about that. That's actually taken a back seat, but especially for individual stocks, if you're buying something, be very aware of the earnings when that company reports, or maybe it's rivals or customers or suppliers. So you definitely, there's a lot of reasons to be cautious. We could be up 5% tomorrow. We could be down 5% tomorrow, and we could actually be a lot more than that. So,
Right.
but yeah,
And just to emphasize the point that you're making, not only are we just in earning season, these are the two big weeks of earning season where you have the major companies that have those big index weighting. So when you're saying we could get some big market swings, it's because of the power of those huge companies and their influence on the indexes. So we'll have to see how that takes shape in following sessions. So we've got 3 days to go this week. We'll have to see how things progress, if it's still rocky, because we know that when you get a lot of volatility like we've seen, it can take time for the market to calm down and for that volatility to subside, and for us to get back on our feet. Not to mention, You have this news driven market that we have tied to tariffs. And you and Justin are going to be talking more about that on Wednesday's podcast episode. So we look forward to it, Ed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Okay. Quick thoughts on levels to watch for the S&P 500.
I think it's all the same kind of things. The 21-day line, and then that one big high day is pretty, like with the 5,500 level. So, some obvious short-term resistance levels to look for there.
Okay, blue chips. Looks like we have more progress we'd like to see here. We've got 40,000 around number, also that declining 21-day line and those significant highs from earlier in April, and the Russell 2000 still badly beaten down here, but making some progress. We'd still like to get above the 21-day line and that early April high from that big spread day. Okay, Ed, moving on. Anything else to add there?
No, no, I think
Okay.
that's the laggard.
Okay, well, we mentioned gold, so why not take a look at GLD? Is this finally cooling off here? We've seen how extended gold has gotten in not only recent days, but recent weeks in this incredible run. In roughly 2 months' time, the GLD ETF here up more than 20%. So, not too surprising here to see this cool off, I guess, especially if you're thinking about perhaps at times this inverse relationship between your safe haven areas and if the market can get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, this has been the safe haven, and I mean, except for that early April time when everything was being sold, but it seemed more like a margin call. Sell the stuff that's working, so I can cover that. But that's the thing. Aside from a massive sell-off, the only other thing that's going to knock gold down is if there's that risk on and the dollar starts strengthening again. Again, you could easily have that with some trade news, but you just
Mhm.
don't know. So it's one day, but it's like so many other things. We don't know if today's action is more than just a blip.
Yeah. So for those who have been trading GLD, especially that breakout in late January, early February, or one of the more recent pullbacks, it does seem like maybe it's time to peel a little bit of profits off the table, lock some of that in, and then you can wait for other signals to lock in more profits while trying to retain your gains.
I
But
think that's good.
let's also look at the new gold, Ed. IBIT, Bitcoin. Full disclosure, I did initiate a small position in IBIT today, up about 4.75% here, following up on Monday's gain as well, clearing some interesting levels. So we're seeing Bitcoin trying to make a comeback here, Ed.
Yeah, what's weird about Bitcoin is that traditionally it's actually traded more like a speculative growth stock. And then yesterday you could argue, aha, it's rallying because the dollar's sort of weak, sort of trading like another, like digital gold. But today it rallied even when gold came down. So will you get sort of a weird, it seems like there was a weird mix. It's sort of like the things that made my things to work for snow to land in my, when I was growing up in Oregon, everything had to line up perfectly. Were people treating Bitcoin like a dollar safe haven and a speculative growth stock today? Maybe, and will that continue? But definitely looked very interesting. If you were going to get into Bitcoin, today seems like a really good day to do that.
Yes. So we'll have to see where it goes from here if it can continue to hold that round number of 50 and that 50-day moving average. I do also think it's interesting that if we do see a little bit more strength, even with IBIT roughly 16% below prior highs, that relative strength line is close to hitting new high ground. So just underscoring the relative outperformance as of late. So already up about 8% for the week in 2 days' time. So we'll see where it goes from here. Let's take a look at some stocks for the radar, starting with Spotify, Ed. We have an RS line blue dot. And on Monday's show, we did cover the post earnings action for Netflix, also in this sort of entertainment subscription space with earnings out and following up on that today. Full disclosure, I do have a small position in Netflix and a small position now in Spotify with it intraday taking out Monday's high. But at the very least, this potential watch list name with earnings due in a week.
Yeah, you could have taken a position today. I mean, again, Monday's action shows you how risky things can be. I mean, we could, again, if the market sells off, Spotify is going to too, but that's going to be true of almost everything. RS line at a new high, breaking that trend line above the 50-day line. this does seem tariff insulated. It's not market insulated, but it's
Right.
tariff insulated. It seems recession resistant. Yes, people will cancel it if the market, but not the way they might cover. A lot of people treat this more as a must have. And honestly, they might forget about it. It's a chance that you could have bought some here and then let to see, what happens. A week from now, you could might, take some profits, or if you have a big gain, you might be able to hold it. Uh, so there's it's nice growth here. It's been on a good trajectory. The While the AD rating isn't great, the up down volume has picked up again, and that's probably going to improve a little bit in the not too distant future if trends are holding. But yeah, there's a lot to like about this name, especially in this environment. So you could have taken a position, or you could wait to see on earnings, or do an options play, though that might be pretty expensive given the market.
Right. And I'm sure, like many media companies, the subscription business is very important, but there also is this free ad supported tier,
Yeah.
right, Ed? So it is able to monetize its listeners who are not subscribers as well. So that is something to take note of there. Okay, let's go to BRBR. This is BellRing Brands, another blue dot stock, Ed.
Yeah, and this is sort of defensive growth, but you look at that growth, that's not too defensive. It's much more on the growth side there. That's real growth. It may slow down in the coming year, but it's still, this is a name, again, you definitely want to be looking at a lot of different themes and sectors and stuff, but this is one that might still do well in the market. And if the market turns on you, this may not have as horrific as sell off. Again, I don't
Mhm.
want to make any guarantees on anything right now.
Yeah.
And earnings aren't too far away, so another thing. But yeah, there's that trend line, there's the short-term highs from the last week or last few weeks that you could get above, to sort of an early entry there. And but again, RS line at highs, accelerating growth, definitely one that investors should be looking at.
Yes. And let's take a look at Tesla rival BYD, the ticker here, BYDDF. Shares up 7.5% today, Ed. And I believe they are unveiling or releasing new models. Tell us more.
Yeah, I'm partly doing this for the segue. We can go segue right into Tesla. But yeah, this is doing very well. It's an emerging consolidation, still needs some time, but strong move here. Arguably there was a trend line you could have done things, but earnings are probably coming this week. They sort of pre-announced that earnings probably basically doubled. So that would be another quarter of acceleration there. Yeah, they are going to release some new models this week. There's a big Shanghai auto show, so you're seeing a lot of the Chinese EV makers come out. They just a lot of things going on. Another big ship to transport cars to other places launched, and they have a whole bunch. So this is one
Mhm.
that is really probably one of the best looking China stocks names. But again, there's so many risk factors. There's earnings, there's China, there's the tariffs, there's the market. So you'd have to have there's a lot of risk factors in this one, but it's worth watching nonetheless, even if you can't stomach
Mhm.
actually getting behind the wheel of this stock.
Absolutely. And to add some additional perspective here about its rivalry with Tesla, a milestone in recent weeks, right, Ed, was how BYD surpassed Tesla in full year revenue. Is that correct?
Full year revenue and the last 2 quarters, they have outperformed Tesla in fully electric battery vehicles. It's possible, I think it's unlikely, but it's possible that BYD will actually pass Tesla's net income in Q1, which would be like a couple of years ago, people would have laughed at you. Are you kidding me? There's no way. I don't think that's going to happen this quarter, but this is the weakest quarter for BYD. I mean, this is like everything else is going to look a lot better the rest of the year. So yeah, it's this one is probably the only EV maker that is profitable and with growth on the earnings right now. So it's a real beast right now.
Okay. Well, let's pivot to Tesla with earnings out after the bell. It looks like a mild reaction stock wise here. But Ed, I know you'll add some color from what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a miss on the top and bottom line with automotive revenue plunging 20% year over year. Of course, this could uh, be a different situation in terms of the stock reaction once we get to the call. Who knows? Maybe it could be a nothing burger reaction by that point as well. But that's usually when you get a little bit more color of enthusiasm about the future initiatives that are going on beyond the numbers. But it looks like it was not a good quarter, to say the least, for Tesla.
No, it was pretty lousy numbers, and the EPS estimates were below even more recent estimates, and the revenue, maybe more the recent. It was maybe roughly in line with some of the more recent estimates. Not good, but yes, everybody's interested. Is the self-driving? Is that still on target for June? Are they going to roll out an affordable vehicle? Those are the kind of things that people are. That's still what the bulk of the valuation is on. Uh, but yeah, so this could have a lot of swings up and down, and definitely overnight action might take a different view come tomorrow. But there's a couple other names I wanted to take a look at, as SAP is one.
All right,
Um,
let's check it out.
and this is sort of like the first software name we'll have service now, but this is actually doing pretty well. I mean, Germany's doing pretty well, but this one, it's still below the 50-day line, but the RS line, it looks like earnings and guidance were strong. I just vaguely looked at it while we were talking. So, but it seemed to be positive. Needs to get above the 50-day line, but that's a positive sign for not just SAP, but for software.
Yeah. Any others to check in on, Ed?
ISRG, this had been a real leader. It's fallen off and it's not looking good here. I know that some of what they make is in Mexico, so it could be tariff related. I don't know, but this one, the reaction is not good here. Maybe it'll try to hold above the lows of this base, but that's, it's already below all its moving averages. So not a good initial reaction here.
That is right. And just one more thing to say about Tesla, because I know you cover it so closely along with the rest of our news team. I think other things that investors might be looking for are, rumors about Elon Musk's future role with the company. Right. That's been one of the big criticisms, is that he has really taken a back seat and hasn't been super hands on with all of his other special government employee related activities. So, is there going to be an update on that as well? I think that also might
You're right,
be
and
of
I know
interest.
that. I just sometimes just sometimes I forget to mention that. Yeah, that's a big deal. I think a lot of people want to see him come back more full time to Tesla. I mean, I think Tesla's business issues are beyond that, and
Mhm.
but
Right.
we'll have to see. And again, I do think self-driving is the real fundamental thing. If they convey confidence on that, investors take away from that, the stock can rebound. And I think that's ultimately the issue that's going to make or break this stock.
All right. Well, as of now, it's got more work to do, some levels to clear, but before I think growth investors,
Yeah.
if you cover up the ticker, uh, before we're interested in it. All right. Thank you so much, Ed. As always, we appreciate your perspective.
Thank you,
Good to
Allie.
see you. And thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. That is it from us for today, but we will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on that. We will see you there. Then we'll also see you right back here tomorrow after the close. And again, make sure you tune in to our podcast episode live at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, featuring our very own Ed Carson. Don't miss it. So we'll see you then, everyone. Thanks for watching.